You know that off-site location for data storage and retrieval they call the cloud? It's a pretty apt name when you think about it. Ask this guy.
I'm Mike Osgood, Director of Business Development at Rowney DeMeo Construction.
A cloud in the sky is not solid, not stable. Same could be said for Mike's experience with the data cloud.
They weren't able to house some of our software.
Like a sky cloud, a data cloud can just dry up and disappear.
Within about 3 months, we lost mass amounts of data. There was about 12 weeks of entries that we lost.
The data cloud can really rain on your parade.
Something that would take normally about 20 minutes to process took about 3 hours.
Mike's company decided to bring their business data back down to earth and out of the rain.
Tab set us up with a local server once we determined that the cloud was not suitable.
Store, control, and protect your data locally cost-effectively with help from Tab Computer Systems. Call 1-888-TAB-4-HELP, 1-888-TAB-4-HELP, or at tabinc.com. Technology's advancing business. Tab Computer Systems.
Monday, January 9th, it's The Real.
Are we in the real world here?
KNC, Ken Laird.
Chris Curtis.
Back at work here on a Monday. Tom Brady Monday, Tim Hasselbeck Monday. Most importantly, Michael Holley going for the low-hanging Curtis for his retort on Friday to Kirk Minahan.
The fake news segment that Curtis pulled out for him.
How'd that make you feel there, Chris?
Least surprising thing of that entire back and forth on the afternoon show on Friday.
Imagine if the biggest star at the station, one of the biggest radio personalities in the country right now, maybe the biggest, you'd agree with that, goes after you, and you go back at Chris Curtis?
The first victim, so to speak, of their retaliation was going to be yours truly.
And Chris Curtis, who doesn't know if a puck is puffed or stuffed.
I have to say, though, 2 o'clock, I am glad I heard the Bruins trade talk off, too.
And it is a Freestyle Friday, and the Bruins will be part of what we discuss today. I will say this. Don Sweeney, you got to do something now.
I thought they might respond at 2 or 2:05 or 2:08. Absolutely enthralled by their debate whether or not certain players in the Bruins. Carlo, is he a unmovable guy on the team?
Don't pretend like you don't know Brandon Carlo's entire story.
Brandon Carlo's from Colorado Springs. Grew up out there.
Radios from Bangor to P-Town. People saying, I need more Carlo talk.
Don't insult my Bruins. You were in for Sunday Skate.
Sunday Skate.
You got to meet Rear Admiral personally.
I did.
Bar none.
I got to meet him and Ty Anderson. Got to say in person he's the next Kirk Minahan. That room was on fire. Holy shit.
Threw some kerosene on the fire.
I was a little tired Sunday morning getting some stuff done. I walked in there, boom, it was like an espresso right to the head.
Back to Michael Holley.
So anyway.
Is it a valid point?
You take something from a completely different conversation and apply it to what you're talking about.
There is some validity to it.
Before you respond, I would say that's irrelevant to the situation. Kirk knew he called in to Bomani's show after Dale and Holley.
Oh, did I say Kevin? This is actually Kirk Minahan from the Kirk and Callahan show.
Oh, hey, hang up. Hey, bang on this.
He knew that anything audio-wise we had for him Friday morning from Dale and Holley happened before he called into Bomani Jones' show. So
Right.
the point wasn't really a response to the Holley quote.
Bomani Jones has been going back and forth, and he likes it. He does not back down.
Holley had 4 hours to respond to Bomani Jones and had words of support for Bomani, even if it was only about Twitter.
My reaction to their first segment, where I got this cut, was off the 2 o'clock hour. I had Ben calling me. Andy was trying to find out where we found it.
Yeah,
it was off the top of your fucking show. Listen to it. It's not my job to find sound from your fucking show.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Jesus. Anyway, and so I'm listening back to it. They finally get to Michael's take on it, and he's saying about Twitter because they were mentioning that Kirk was going back and forth with Bomani on Twitter. And Michael said something, and he ended his statement with, Bomani Jones doesn't back down. For our purposes, on our show, that was a money quote. It's short. It's concise. It was said. I didn't edit those words together. He said Bomani Jones doesn't back down.
He does not back down.
And he certainly backed down on Twitter. He muted everybody in the Boston area.
So not only does he block everybody on Twitter that disagrees with him, the only thing that I felt somewhat nervous about was I didn't know if Jerry and Kirk knew. Michael hadn't heard the call by Kirk into the Bomani show.
Well, Jerry may not have, but he wasn't involved in the rant.
But other than that, I stand by everything I did.
Stand beside her and guide her.
It's my job to find interesting, compelling audio that I know the hosts of my show will disagree with. That's the job. You seek the drama, and that's what we did. And I don't think that I took him out of context entirely. It's pretty obvious. You look at the guy. He backed down on Twitter. He backed down on the air. He backed down everywhere. So for Michael Holley to go on the air and have his first response be that I'm creating fake news.
Fake news segment that Curtis pulled out for him.
And that it's Chris Curtis's fault, basically ignores the entire situation.
Well, listen, I'm happy they responded.
I know.
Wanted to take it an hour until 3.
You're an hour late, by the way. He wanted a 2 o'clock.
He wanted
call.
to do it. No,
Sorry, but at least they played the audio for them, which I supplied for them, by the way. So they took it, played it for the guys. But good. That's the first time we've had any response from Dale and Holley in months.
I could have gone for another hour of DeCarlo talk.
I like Carlo.
Carlo, not DiCarlo.
Oh, that's what does he play D?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. One step ahead of you.
Today we had plenty of drops, mostly from the Saturday extravaganza of Trenny and Tomasi. Those two were a little unhappy with our approach here on the morning show.
The questions that they were going to be asked here were it wasn't going to be a conversation.
Right.
It was going to be a yelling match.
Right.
That's all it was going to be. So.
And that's where I say I don't necessarily love the tactic of, the Game of Thrones shame.
I'm in my car. It's snowing. I'm listening to this, and I think I'm in like some weird universe. I'm listening to these two.
We sound like two hippies. I love this.
I know.
Hey, Trenny, we wouldn't need to do that. I emailed them politely and asked. They gave bullshit responses, so I thought, along with other people on our show, it would make sense to make it public so that maybe they felt compelled to come on. In worst case, we had something to react to. I don't think that was wrong.
Not to mention, these are people who have branded or
charged
the city of Boston with being racist.
You know, and I know.
Citywide. So it's a response, wanting clarification or somebody to stand behind their comments, which nobody would do there.
Right, and I think it's the same thing we talked about with the shilling character clause voters who wouldn't come on, or the Deflategate people. Anybody who comes forward and says that Tom Brady is a cheater or whatever, Boston is racist on a much bigger scale.
It's Boston. Gordon Hayward looks more like Larry Bird than other players in the league.
You should be able to have the balls to come on and back up your words, and that's all we were saying.
If you don't want to refute that clown, John Tomasi and Trenny Kuznirik, then there's something wrong with you.
Even my good friend Craig Mustard taking a little trip down the pale white lane.
Let's face it, that Mount Rushmore that everybody likes to erect for the great athletes, it's mostly people with very pale skin.
How perfect is it if we were going to get into the race relations in Boston, the perfect Saturday storyline, Boston's Mount Rushmore, would be used to create the point, right? You had both Mustard and you had Tomasi bringing that up Saturday.
And wherever we talk about the Boston sports Mount Rushmore, it's always Bird over Russell.
Craig Mustard's comments didn't really bother Kirk and Jerry. They've come to accept that from him. But
well, I mean, that's Craig's whole worldview.
Trenny is one of us. Now, Trenny has taken and sort of posted her flagpole with the opposing team, wouldn't you say? Certainly defending Sarah Spain.
That's right, on Twitter, away.
Yes, so she'll be in Wednesday. That will be a very interesting morning, I think, Wednesday morning.
Is Sarah Spain done packing yet? Is she moved yet? Could she come on?
And we have Trenny joining us later in the week, right? So we can hash this out.
Well, a fight, though.
No, we don't.
That's
have to
counterproductive.
Fight.
I agree. It's going to be the other thing is that Kirk is like loaded for bear on this right now. Mm-hmm. You can see him. Not only what you hear when those tweets were coming with Jamel Hill and Gronk this morning.
Yeah,
he is literally pissed off about this. It's not any stunt.
That's a stunt. I'm not doing stunts, man.
Or act. It legitimately gets to him. And Wednesday should be very entertaining. What do you think will happen with Trenny?
I don't think she'll walk out. I don't think she'll leave. She has a pretty thick skin. I'm not convinced that she'll fight on the matter. That's my thing. I think once she's in here, she'll sort of state her case as she does, but I don't really see her and Kirk going back and forth.
So do you see it similar to, remember the show where Deflategate got brought back up?
Yes.
And she was kind of...
Yeah, she didn't want to engage.
And she said, I'm bored by this?
Sorry, I sort of tuned you out because this bores me.
Yes.
Do you see something similar?
Yeah, sort of taking her ball and going home on the matter.
That would be disappointing.
No, I don't know how persistent Kirk and Jerry will be in forcing her into a hash back and forth on this, but we'll see. That'll make for a must-listen Wednesday.
If the callers and texters are a guide, this topic isn't going anywhere because whenever we mention it, people react instantaneously.
Right. We also had Odell Beckham on the plate today. That continued, as you mentioned, the Jamel Hill tweet. She threw Gronk into the mix, so now we've got a white athlete, a black athlete, and accusations of partying that never happened.
Well, and you also have the follow-up tweet by Jamel saying, who's talking about race? I never mentioned race.
Because nobody is saying that you're a racist.
I mean, God, these people at ESPN are, you can't make it up. Just throwing around race like, whatever.
Other than that, I mean, the opening segment today was try to make a case for the Houston Texans. That's not going to go very far.
No.
We had Tim Hasselbeck on today with some X's and O's football. We just did some Phil Simms bashing. Other than that, those were the two bell cow topics.
Well, a pretty big takeaway from me today is that Tom Brady likes Jim Gray more than Jerry Callahan.
You know, I'm going to send you, Fran, and Tillman a pair of this great product.
Yeah, although Jerry got 2 laughs on multiple questions to TB12.
Bouquet of flowers or MySpace hat.
No free pajamas.
Wow, what a shot at you.
Oh.
Brady and Gray that's a marriage. I mean, those two are together. They did the first post-Deflategate meeting, right? They helicoptered into the big town hall or whatever after the accusations.
That's right.
I love you too.
And actually, after the Super Bowl in Phoenix, there's a video of the locker room right after the game, and Jim Gray is like next to Brady as he's taking his pads off. So he is well in the inner circle of Tom Brady.
That's his babe.
How you doing, Tommy?
I'm doing great, babe. Good talking to you.
And we never get, Benny or the kids on.
No.
They go on all the time with Jim.
Right, true. I forgot about that. We get Harry Minahan. We don't get Benny Brady.
Those drops, excellent. Love them. Every time I hear them, I laugh.
Oh, yes.
Jerry got a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jerry.
At least some Jerry at the station got a happy birthday.
And Kirk was told he's doing a great job.
Right.
I think Kirk's done a great job.
Today, we had a 22-minute Brady interview. Kirk asked Brady about the Beckham situation. When pressed as to what Tom would do if Edelman had done this, he gave an I don't know.
Let's just say you had a short week, though. You didn't have a bye. You had the short week, and say Edelman and Bennett were talking about going down there. I mean, would you get in the way and say, hey, guys, we're not doing that. That's not happening?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know.
So there are some times Brady just does shut it down. Not in a mean way, but that was one of those
But
cases.
I think those are cases, too, where you get that he obviously wouldn't want them to do it, but he knows that if he didn't say he wouldn't tell them not to.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say he would, but he said, I don't know, which means that he probably would say something, but he knows if he says that he would say something, then that becomes a story that Tom Brady would have intervened, Eli Manning did it, and becomes a huge national story.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about they're not
What are you talking about?
No matter what happens on Mondays with the Brady interview, and we had Tim Hasselbeck on, which we'll get to in a moment. We weren't sure we would. It gets choppy. It chops up our show in ways that it's not normally. Hopefully not for the listener, but for us, it's very staccato in here.
Yeah, it's frustrating because, we got into the 7 o'clock hour. We did the top of the 7, which I thought was one of our better segments today, going back through the weekend and the Trenny and the Tomasi and the Mustard Sound. And that led us into headlines, and we still had pretty full lines. People were engaged, and we had a ton of headlines to get to because of the Golden Globes. You had the Meryl Streep comment.
I love you all, but you'll have to forgive me. I've lost my voice.
So you had Trump's reaction. You had all that. Hasselbeck was scheduled at 7:45. We're already replaying Brady at 8:30, and it just sort of wedges everything together. Kirk was right. If we could have moved Hasselbeck, having another segment or two, on the weekend shows and sort of siding with Bomani over us would have been good, but we couldn't do it.
Now, Tim Hasselbeck doesn't back down.
Didn't back down. I told him, I said, hey, here's what's going on, the background of the Bomani Jones thing, and he said, okay, thanks, I'll do it, I'll come on. He stayed on through that entire Josh Brown thing. I mean, that was pretty contentious.
Yeah, I mean, I've met him and his wife and his daughter, and more than anything, it's just sad.
Otherwise, we didn't have much time to goof around today. We had a little bit of, during headlines, I guess, Jerry was upset nobody...
Well, he was mad at me about the Danny Glover. And I didn't know...
You didn't know if Danny Glover was related to David Glover?
David Glover.
Yeah.
Is Donald Glover Danny Glover's kid or not?
I don't know.
I got like 5 of them say no, 5
I don't think
say
he
yes.
is. I've never heard that. Doesn't mean he isn't. Be hard to find out. I'll say that. I'm not going to be able to figure it out.
Okay, I'm doing a show, but too bad we don't have people who could do that for us.
There should be some job where somebody looks that up. Curtis is baffled. Chris, how can you not figure that out in 90 seconds?
I'm texting with Tim Hasselbeck right now.
Who cares about Tim Hasselbeck? I'm more concerned about Donald and Danny Glover.
Unrelated.
Unrelated. I didn't get that quick enough. Jerry did that. Well, I'm doing a radio show here. Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, so I thought that was, other than that, we really didn't goof around much. It was
Jerry didn't like La La Land, even though he's never seen it. I will admit, I told you at the time, I had to check my man card in at the theater before going to see the big winner.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can get Reamer's thoughts on it tomorrow. I know he's not a movie guy, but I feel like that would be a movie he would see.
Why do you say that?
Oh, because he likes, he told me he likes musicals.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So, big day for Reamer tomorrow. I think Meter is...
Yeah, Meter canceled. What? This is stunning.
Meter is quickly approaching Giardi land.
You know who you are? You're a poor man's Mike Giardi. That's who you are.
Now let's not go overboard.
This was discussed in the office right after a meeting. And
No, but hold it. Totally different situation. Meter's not canceling because we were giving him the business.
No. I mean, like Giardi land in that we're not going to be contacting him a lot anymore if he keeps canceling.
That's Salisbury land.
I need to calm down myself.
It's not Giardi land.
Well, Salisbury would fly right now. He'd have a cliche for you in 2 seconds.
The Jimmies and the Joes.
Okay, true.
I'm talking about the reliability standpoint.
Okay, but that's not why.
I meant that Giardi was a pain. He never would commit to something. I don't mean Giardi land in terms of the way he was bitching about being paid and being in massive vagina. I'm talking about like Giardi in terms of like never committing or committing and backing out.
Calling somebody a puss. Hey, is that allowed, Ken? That's allowed, right?
Probably not, but I'm going to let it go.
Yeah, calling somebody a Giardi. I mean,
yeah, initially, I guess that's true. I apologize.
It's okay. Glad we can clarify.
I almost feel apologetic.
I've been a little irritable today. I yelled at Ryan, the overnight guy.
We're looking to figure out whether or not J.J. Watt is eligible to return. And Jerry's, doing the talk back. And Ryan, who's doing a double shift today, comes in and he's just trying to explain something. And I had the same feeling as you did. Like, I don't want to hear it. I want to see it. I don't want to, like, hypothesize because then you go and tell that to Jerry and it's wrong and you get yelled at. So he keeps sort of brainstorming, spitballing, as one would say. And you're like, can you just get something printed for me? Thank you.
I turned into Callahan. That's not totally accurate.
Maggot!
The issue was J.J. Watt is on injured reserve.
Right.
Jerry said, could they have brought him back, and would he have been eligible to play this weekend? Or, why isn't he eligible to play this weekend? There's one tag that each team has to designate for return a guy that they put on IR. We later found out the Texans had already used their IR return guy on some rookie from Stanford, right?
Right.
But we were trying to find out that information because during the broadcast, somebody had talked to Watt, and Watt had said, yeah, if they had used it on me, I would have been healthy enough to play this weekend.
Right.
Okay, so we were trying to get to the bottom of this. And in the meantime, we're in the middle of the show, and shit's flying in the studio, and Garvin, the overnight guy, is standing there like, well, I don't think he could have come back. Again, as you say, he was spitballing after we had told him, hey, Ryan, try to go find out what the deal is on this. You can't come to Jerry and say, well, Ryan Garvin, the overnight guy, has a hunch that J.J. Watt can't come back. Oh, thanks, Laird. So the shit rolled downhill in that case, and I happened to pop off. Yeah. Was I wrong?
I was feeling the way you were feeling. I just didn't verbalize it in the way you did.
I felt like Winston Wolfe. If I'm curt, it's because time is of the essence.
It was, hey, we got the
Pretty
answer
please,
eventually.
with sugar on top. Clean the fucking car.
If I'm curt with you, it's because time is a factor. I think fast, I talk fast, and I need you guys to act fast if you want to get out of this. So, pretty please, with sugar on top, clean the fucking car.
Reamer tomorrow, Trenny Wednesday. We're not sure on Thursday yet. You're going to reach out to the Candyman?
Yeah, so we're thinking that Reamer's going to do Tuesday instead of Thursday, and hopefully the Candyman can make a return out of the bullpen appearance 2 straight weeks. And then, as always, we have Shitty Story Friday with Mutt.
What about you, Chris? Are you an Emma Stone fan?
I'm up and down on Emma.
What was that?
I'm up and down on
Did you hear that at the end? Did you get that? It's the longest one yet.
We may have the second episode of Tunnel Vision tomorrow.
Callahan Tunnel Vision.
With Jerry and Reamer.
Oh, that's right.
Lord knows he needs Reamer to hold his hand through the process.
Uppity little scamp.
Jerry doesn't want to do it by himself. He's demanded that Alex be a part of every Tunnel Vision going forward.
The Callahan Tunnel Vision podcast, if you click on it, on WEI.com, we still are airing Christmas grievances, so that's topical.
The airing of grievances.
So, I mean, we're approaching the 10th of January here, so we're staying on top of things.
So look for that tomorrow. Every podcast looks up to us, Chris. We do one every day. Is there another podcast at this cluster that does every day?
No.
Bangs it out?
What does that mean, gang bang?
No. We're the only ones.
Only one.
You got some response to your
So I was going to go to Steel and Rye.
Yeah.
In Milton. Saturday, because of the weather, stayed in, had my baked ziti. It was, even for me, one of my best baked zitis I've had in a while.
I've seen the A word out there. Arrogance.
You had people showing up at the restaurant where you were going to go in Milton based on hearing that you were going to be there.
This podcast is massive.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem.
We had some discussions last week in the office about, what's this podcast, that podcast. Kirk had her back there. He said, people listen, people like it. And
what if we hold out? What if we just stop doing it?
I think this building would come down.
I think so, too. Would we get paid anymore?
Well, do we get paid now?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. We need to hold out.
Right. Let's do it. I'm all for it.
Is that a tactic you're behind?
I follow Mr. Laird wherever he goes.
Stupid!
Problem is, I follow Kirk wherever he goes. Kirk will be mad if we don't do the podcast. We entertain him on his run. He'll understand to a certain point. This is what happened when I tried to play leverage with the Bruins beat reporting gig.
He was behind you at the
He
beginning.
had my back. He understood, and then it came to affect him.
I'm also going to go into Phil Zachary's office and get a new producer. Sorry, I know you like Ken, but that is a total weasel. That's a bad.
No, why?
That's
We've got to find a way to hold out and make it in Kirk's best interest for us to not do one. If it makes Jerry look bad, maybe then he'll be on board.
Right, because technically we're still doing a show podcast every day, which is what Jerry's was supposed to be once a week. So if we stop doing these entirely, maybe more of the focus would go to Jerry.
Right.
You can hear the fear.
Because it's in his contract. This is not in our contract. We do this as a gift, really. We give back. It's a charity item.
I mean, we just like to say thanks every day.
That's what we do.
Thanks for that diatribe.
All right, Curtis, we'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys.